time to do some sampling from the man himself, Eddie Dean. And I gotta tell you, we're gonna do some sampling. You know that if you see Eddie and Brent Dean up here, there's gonna be some sampling, but it's not gonna be a whole lot of sampling. Not like where we had 500 racks of ribs like last night, because we want you to participate in the whole pig roast barbecue and all the trimmings that's coming up at 6 o'clock tonight. Tickets available at the box office. But for right now, you're gonna get your mind and your stomach filled from the man himself. I'm not gonna pretend to tell you this gentleman's curriculum vitae. He will tell you himself, and it's incredibly impressive. Would you please welcome the man, Eddie Dean.
Thank you, Scott. Can everybody hear me pretty well out there? All the way back in Oklahoma? Okay. Okay, everybody good? I'm Eddie Dean. That's my son, Brent. We got a bunch of grandkids up here. I got another son out there somewhere. I don't know where Edison is. There he is, right over here. So it's a family affair tonight.
There's your daughter
right here. Oh, my daughter right here in front. So my other daughter, Abby, she left a while ago. She missed the experience. And Eli's maybe here tomorrow, so I'll have some other Dean help. So glad to have Tracy Ebarb on the front row. Tracy claims that he taught me how to cut a brisket back in the 1800s. So, but I don't see how that could happen. He's so much younger than I am. So, but anyway, that's his story. I'm glad he can make it out here. Who made it to the gig last night with? Were you there? How was the piano player and the sax player? Did it work out? It was good? Okay, that was Jeff, you were there? Yeah, oh yeah. Kurt. So, good friend of mine, Jeff Acock, he's supposed to be here tonight. I don't know if he left. Jeff, there he is. He's the sax player from last night, so I'm glad I didn't see him out there. Okay, so I think I got everybody covered. My friends from Rockwall in the front row. Appreciate y'all coming out. So, what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about brisket. We're going to talk about this whole pig we cooked here at Zestfest. We're going to do some sampling. And we have a few products up here. Some of the vendors are going to come up and talk about those. So we're going to jump into a lot of different barbecue experiences. So we're going to explain how brisket unfolds. We're going to explain how pulled pork unfolds. We got a pork loin we're going to also be serving. So get ready for a few samples and let's have a lot of fun. So last night I used this little board here to kind of show you the laws that govern barbecue. It'll be kind of projected on these two screens and it's going to be upside down, so every once in a while I'll flip it over so you can maybe read my writing. But what I do when I'm not catering barbecue, I teach in homeless shelters and also go into prison to teach inmates how to cook barbecue. So today, I'm going to treat you like some of my best customers at the Hutchinson State Jail. Imagine you're a part of 285 inmates, all male group of inmates. And so I walk in with the idea to get them to have a lot of fun with me in a couple hours. And so first question I ask, I say, guys, do y'all want to learn the secrets to cooking the world's greatest brisket? And of course, what do you do in prison but say, why not? And what else are we going to do that day? So they were really excited. And so in the laws of barbecue, what I do is I draw a line here at the top of the page. And this is your smoker at 225 degrees Fahrenheit. So the brisket, when you put it on a smoker, it follows this line of temperature. It'll go up, then it'll go into a resistance, then it'll kind of start going back up, and we're headed up to the promised land. We call it the unfolding, the metamorphosis of the barbecue. You can think of a metamorphosis like a butterfly. So I draw a line like this. So hopefully you can see on that, these are the three lines. So these three lines gives us the insight on how to cook the world's greatest brisket. So imagine we take this brisket at 35 degrees out of the cooler, we put it on the smoker, in about 4 hours, it'll get up to about 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Then it goes into this we call the resistance. Barbecue guys call it the stall. I call it the resistance. So as the temperature rises, you go out there 6 hours, 7 hours, and the temperature is not rising. In fact, sometimes it's even cooler than when you started. So a lot of people, what they do is go and take this 225 degrees, this fire, and try to increase it. That's a huge mistake if you're going to be in the world of barbecue. So what you want to do is stay persistent and consistent with that temperature, 225 degrees. You guys from Rockwell, you with me? Okay, so make sure you maintain that heat. Don't elevate it just because the internal temperature of the brisket is not rising. So after a few more hours, what happens, there's an enzyme in the muscle called capsaicin. That enzyme actually triggers at 122 degrees, but actually does its work at 160 degrees Fahrenheit. What it does is breaks down the connective tissue, the collagen protein in the muscle. So imagine this is a protein, this is water. What's happening in the process is really, really tight in a fresh brisket.
Just keep making
95% of the weight of the brisket is water, so what our intent is this water needs to break, but not dissipate so much that it leaves the whole system of barbecue. So what we want to do is release it. Well, that collagen protein is a connective tissue that holds all these protein fibers together.
Back him over there.
But it's really, really tough because the brisket's found right here on the steer, and he walks a lot, and so it's a working muscle. So it's a very, very tough piece of meat. So the objective is that this collagen needs to be soluble, tender. So this capsaicin inside the muscle will start breaking down that collagen. So eventually we'll get up to 180 and eventually 195, and that's when the angels start singing hallelujah. Are y'all with me? So we got a brisket up here. Brent, go ahead and show them that brisket. What we do is take a raw piece of meat. We put salt and pepper on it, coarse salt, big pepper. We coat it both sides. And we get it and walk it through the stage. Does that make any sense? Everybody with me? Everybody with me? So the objective is there's a tipping point. We call this line here a tipping point. Well, a lot of times the folks that messes up on barbecue, they go out there and the temperature's not rising and they take it off too early because fundamentally they think it's going to be dry. If you take a brisket at 160, 175, you cut it, it's going to be dry. And they say, well, if I keep cooking it, it's going to get drier. That's erroneous. What you want to do is that water's got to break from that muscle fiber and be released so to be juicy. So the farther you bring it up, the more juicier it's going to become. Are y'all with me? Are y'all with me? So in prison, we're going to start some samples as Brent get all these ready. We'll go through some of these sauces. So in prison, I'll ask these guys, I said, y'all understand that there's laws that govern how to cook barbecue. If there's laws that govern how to cook barbecue, there must be laws that govern how a person goes to prison. When I talk about laws, I was raised on the farm. The laws, the farming says if you get the ground ready in the right time of year, all the conditions are correct. We plant corn, we're not going to get watermelons. If we plant corn, we're going to get corn. So the idea, if you plant the right information in a child's life, in a young person's life, if that information is very, very correct, then fundamentally that information could potentially take that person to prison. So a guy on the front row, he said, I've been here 5 times. I said, you're a genius. How did you figure out the laws? You're really good at this. A guy over here said, I've been here 6 times. I said, you're smarter than this guy. How did y'all figure it out? So they're all looking at me a little bit crazy, you know. A guy in the back row said, hey, is there laws that govern how to avoid prison? And I said, yeah, there's laws that govern. Then what we do is bring in some interesting elements. So what I have here is a bicycle that if you turn right, the wheel goes left. So we start bringing in bicycles. I think we're the only barbecue guys in the world that brings bicycles into prison because typically this is what you see as a way of escaping prison. So basically the idea is that you got to turn right to go left. And so these guys get on the bicycle and they cannot ride the bicycle because they're programmed to ride the other bicycles. I got a little Let me fix it really quick. So Brent will have a bicycle, and I'll have a bicycle, and everybody gets in line to get on this bicycle, and nobody can ride it. And what we're looking for is curiosity, a little bit intuitiveness. So I figured this out when I asked a question about 17, 18 years ago in a homeless shelter. I said, there's 20 ladies and 40 men. I said, when did you perceive your power of control was taken away? And we had 20 ladies on this side and 40 men on this side. And everybody started telling their stories, and the guy just got out of prison. He said, Mr. Dean, everybody's a 5-year-old. I said, what do you mean? He said, every story of sexual abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, abandonment, neglect, whatever it is, was taking place as a 5-year-old. So I had 60 people, 20 ladies, 40 men, and every story was a 5-year-old. So I asked a question on the way home that day, what happens when you're 5 years old? Well, you learn how to ride a bicycle. So I put an extra gear in the bicycle that when you turn right, it goes left. So you got to do opposite as the bicycle. So the idea is we bring these bicycles in, nobody can ride it because they're all programmed to ride the other bicycle. Does that make sense? Are y'all with me? All right, so we use these as, we call them intellectual differential experiences, mental models of teaching people how to rewire their brain. Because it's not a 5-year-old bicycle experience that puts a person in prison, but these other adverse childhood experiences does. So Brandon, you got a sauce you can sample?
Yeah, we got one ready.
Come on, Kurt.
Evil Cowboy.
There he goes.
Here we go, cowboy.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, guys. So what you're about to sample is our sacrifice hot sauce. So we started, my brother and I, in the business because of our grandfather. He had a meat market, just like Eddie Dean is explaining, breaking down meats, making it good, getting it ready for everybody to consume. Let me step it this way a little. And so this is going to be a little sweet to start and have a little heat to it. It's going to be hot, but it's not going to knock your socks off. It's not meant to destroy you. Just enjoy it. It's going to... my grandfather enjoyed cooking all the time. He'd take brisket. He'd take hot dogs, actually. We've got 2 flavors of hot sauce. The first flavor was his barbecue sauce. It was his hickory sauce. He'd take brisket to the rodeo. So that's where Evil Cowboy started. My brother and I came up with the name one night. We said, what would we even call it? And Evil Cowboy, because of the rodeo connection, because of the meat connection, you'll find that our hickory sauce, along with the sauce that you're trying right now, is great on any meat. It's going to accentuate the flavors, going to add some good heat to it, and it's been a lot of fun. We've been here. This is our 3rd year at Zest Fest, so all of our sauces have won several awards, and we're just excited to be here. If you haven't actually tried to ride the bike, we might actually give you $100 if you can ride it.
Yeah, I'll give you 100 if you ride it, but I got to fix this gear just a little bit before you do that.
But it's fun to think about how you can blend flavors together, how you can bring flavors to your palate, how you can make something just tasty and delicious. So we hope that you enjoy our products. All the products here are wonderful. Definitely take the advantage to try them all.
And Ace is back here sampling your product. Thank you, Kurt, for coming up. How many years have you been coming?
This is our 3rd year.
3rd year. Y'all give Kurt a big hand. Appreciate him being a part of this.
You want to go to the next one? BC, Season and Rubs, you up here? BC?
BC Rub.
You see, here they come. Mr. Dean coming up from back over here from Euless, walking up here.
Here they are, right here. Go ahead. Follow them over here, Dominic.
There you go.
How we doing, guys?
Go ahead.
There's your product being delivered right
Right
now.
there.
So tell us about your story.
BC started in 2011, and about a year and a half ago, we finally went full commercial with our products, our barbecue spices, rubs, and our seasonings and our sauces. And what I've given him is our pineapple ghost pepper, which is a new addition that we came up with in the last 4 months or so. And it's basically like a classic barbecue sauce with our twist of ghost pepper and that great balance of sweetness in the pineapple. It works great with pork, with ribs. It works really good if you like to kick up jalapeno poppers, bacon wrap, cream cheese filled. It's really good stuff. has a great taste to it. We're actually based in Waxahachie, so we're local. If you guys ever want to come check us out, we have all our product in store. We are a veteran-owned company. We're proud of our veteran status. And if you guys have any questions, our booth is right here, booth 336. If you guys want to come check us out, we appreciate it.
Hey, appreciate it. Go give.
Thank you.
What I like about ZestFest is what folks have to do. They have to learn how to cook from the soul. They have to be curious, intuitive, and creative and imaginative. And that's what I really like about all these people that are taking a chance. They're creating something that's never been created before with the idea that you guys fall in love with their product. So while Brent's working on the next product, so at the shelter, what we figured out, if you're raised in shame, guilt, apathy, and grief, that basically if I put the heat on the situation, if I put the heat, I can take you out of that environment, and the heat became energy and information. We call them intellectual differential experiences. So I could tell a joke and take somebody out of their sadness, but when I got to the next stage of addiction, we ran into a fear, and the addiction, the anger, and the pride. So the objective is to get past this tipping point. Like in barbecue, there's the enzyme capsaicin. So there's something spiritually inside the human being that if you trigger it, the next thing that happens, you leave this idea of being a victim. So when you feel victimized, basically what you got to do is got to have a reason to suffer. And so I had 60 people in my class that had a reason to suffer because of adverse childhood experiences as children. So the objective is, how do you bring a person through this tipping point? Well, the key, we call them intellectual differential experiences. So we built over 100 different mental models like the backwards bicycle. We'll take a basketball, bounce a basketball. Some of you tell the story. I'll put a knife in the basketball, then I'll throw the basketball to the individual, and I said, you got to fix the basketball, because that's where the problem is. There will be some story of a child that fundamentally is now still dictating the realities of your life. And you can imagine that. If you take a child, twins, take one and raise them in guilt and shame, and the other in love and joy, they're going to be two different kids, because there's going to be two greater systems dictating the realities of their life. So we've helped over 3,000 folks that are drug addicted in the homeless shelter to actually rewire their brain. So the biggest concern I had was we'd get to this tipping point, the next thing you know, they will circle back and start living back into this cycle. We call it the orbit.
Seed Ranch? You out here, Seed Ranch? Right down here on the front.
All right, Seed Ranch, on my way. Come over this way so we won't get any feedback up there. See, there we go.
Hey, y'all, thank you. Appreciate
Thank
it. So we started Seed Ranch because the seed is the origin of all flavor. So if you think about what the chicken was eating, what the pig was eating, what, the cilantro, the lemongrass, Thai ginger, basil, the lime juice, the serrano pepper, coconut flake, all those things that go into our Thai green hot sauce there, it all originates from that seed. So this is our first year at ZestFest. I don't know if any of y'all have made it to our booth. It's one of the teeny tiny ones in the back, 130. Come on down. But it's a fun sauce. This one, you can use it in marinating. You can use it in cooking. You can drink it. It's delicious. I gotta say. So come on down. We got a bunch of other ones, but just remember that as you taste this, something real special, something different than probably what you've had before. So thank you all, and thank you, Eddie.
Y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys from Seed
Hey,
Ranch.
did he give him the booth number?
What booth number? 130. Booth number 130 for our friends from Seed Ranch.
We got Dayton and Ace here passing his product around.
Hey, y'all got to speak up if y'all want some. We don't know who they're. If y'all haven't got any in the back, let them know.
So in the world of barbecue, what you have to do is get out of the orbit. In the world of business, you got to get out of the orbit. And the way prisons are run, they keep people in orbit. So I started asking the question, how do you get out of this orbit? How do you keep from being redundant? And that's the biggest problem we're having in our society is we get into a routine. Next thing you know, we're in a cycle. So I started looking at this as a 4-step cycle that people get in. They form it, they go through a storm, they get to conform. Next thing you know, that's norm, and they perform. But the problem is they're performing as a trail horse. How do you get a trail horse? You got to mortify the horse into spiritual death so they can follow the circle. The horse doesn't want to get out of the routine because it's fearful. What's our next product?
All right, we got gourmet clam lube, Brand. Clam lube, you up here?
Clam lube, guys. Here we go.
There we go.
Hey, appreciate
right
it.
here now.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. Really appreciate it. Yeah, Clam Lube brand hot sauce. A lot of people come by our booth and ask where we got the name Clam Lube. It is kind of interesting. You may be thinking about where we got the name right now. It actually came from a friend of ours that's a surfer out in California, and his nickname is Woody Clam Lube. And so we asked him if we could borrow his name. So if you're wondering where that name came from, that's where it came from. The sauce that we gave the gentleman up here to try is Davy Jones Locker, and it's a habanero and pineapple. So it's, I call it kind of a high-end medium. Really good on a lot of different things. You can use it on chicken, you could use it on beef, you could use it on fish, you can use it on vegetables. So it's really a delicious medium heat sauce. We actually have 11 hot sauces, 4 salsas, and a hot mustard right now. And if you want to come and check us out, our little sign's up there. We're in booth 237. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Hey, appreciate that.
Thanks, Clam Lube.
Hey, Brent, has theirs already been passed?
Yes.
Okay. So remember, guys, I'm still talking to you. You're still in prison. Are you okay with that? You okay with that? So the idea is that if I can get somebody intuitiveness leads to curiosity. I want to take them back to a place when they're curious and when they figure out how to crawl, walk, and run, when they figure out to speak the language of their household. When your first 7 years of your life, your brain's in theta waves, which is very hypnotic waves. You've got to be really, really careful how you program a child, because how they're programmed between the first 7 years will dictate the realities of their life. So we got to get this adult back to curiosity. We figured out when you become incredibly curious, you start to produce courage. If we can get you to have courage, we go into neutrality, which means you refuse to be a victim. Neutrality leads to willingness, willing to listen, willing to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And then they start going into acceptance, and what we're looking for is reason. There's a part of your brain that basically, if you compromise it, it's called the right dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. If you compromise that part of the brain, then basically unreasonable ideas become very reasonable. That's what creates crime. Does that make sense, Scott?
Yes, sir, it does.
So the idea is we want to go back in that area of the brain and teach them how to rewire it. So if the body brings the car, not only we bring the driver to the car, we bring the mechanic also. We teach them how to fix their own brain. So we've been really, really good at it. In fact, we got it down to 10 hours of interaction. Basically, somebody comes in our program, and within 10 hours, not only we taught them how to cook really great barbecue, which means they can cook from the soul, but basically they move out of the storm into a higher level of awareness. Instead of just circling back like a trail horse, they start to look like cutting horses. Y'all know what a cutting horse is? Everybody from Texas, right? A cutting horse walks into an arena and self-governs, self-directs. The rider is not making decisions. The horse makes the decision what to do in the arena. You take a trail horse and take it into an experience to being a cutting horse, they fail because they're waiting for somebody to tell them what to do, and they're actually looking for a trail. They're following a script. So I started looking at 2 different systems. One is a top-down command and control system. The other is a system where basically you produce art. It's the opposite of a top-down. The CEO works here, serves his employees, the employee serves the customer. Over here, there's somebody wearing boots and spurs and expecting somebody else to wear the saddle, bridle, and bit. So I started looking at these two-type systems. This produces a commodity, and over here it produces art. So the objective is, how do you take a system that's governing by an autocratic system, a top-down command and control, how do you bring it to a place where they produce art? So we started even working with corporations. We've got large groups coming to see us where we actually try to shift their employees and the idea to moving over here, because at some point you will not in business be able to compete with commodities against Amazon and Walmart and all these different organizations. So the idea is, how do we shift? And so we started using the idea of barbecue to go into prison. Now it's kind of working towards, how do you move companies over here where you have employees that can think on their own behalf.
I want to say something real quick. So he keeps referencing us going to prison. Now, who's seen that Johnny Cash video where he's singing in prison? Have anybody seen that? Folsom? Okay. That's what it feels like. The prison is Hutchinson. It was built in the 70s as a temporary prison. Still exists today. Hasn't changed much, except it's gone downhill because it's supposed to be temporary. So we walk in there. I'm rolling through there. It feels very, I don't know, it's a prison. So we get in there and we walk through there and we get to the back. We work our way through the whole prison rolling these bicycles. Now these bicycles are so foreign because these guys are in there for a long time. I'll give you an example. One guy tells me, he says, "Oh, I heard you say you have a restaurant at Rockwall. My wife lives in Rockwall." And I said, "Oh yeah, that's cool." I said, "You should bring her to dinner." I forgot he had said he had been in there 30 plus years and he had about another 30 years. So he kind of gave me this look like, so just kind of imagine that experience. But that's what we're dealing with. Let me get on. I'm going to go to this. Okay. This one, I don't want to say it offends me because I gotta think greater than I feel. Because when you feel greater than you think, then you're driven by your impulses. You're driven by your emotions. But this one, the King of Barbecue. Where you at, King of Barbecue? He's right around this corner. Over here he is. See, what's funny is 2 weeks ago, we fed 10,000 people in Austin for the governor's inauguration on a Tuesday. We fed them in what, like how many minutes? Like 45 minutes, we fed 10,000 people. But I guess this is the King of Barbecue right here. There you go.
Mercy. Well, thank you very much. My name is Val Romero with the King of Barbecues. Today we're going to be using our barbecue sauce. It's a tomato paste with like corn syrup and some molasses in this, with a lot of apple juice and some pineapple juice in this as well too. It's phenomenal on ribs. It's great on pulled pork, also on your brisket as well too. The company got started actually from Tucson, Arizona. I own a fireplace and barbecue store, and then I just decided to start dabbling in the barbecue spices. One turned to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, and then a barbecue sauce, and now we also have our hot sauces. So again, I want to thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
What's
Keep
your
up
booth?
the good work.
Your booth number?
Booth, we're right around the corner, right behind Texas Toffee right over there. It's 243, but the easiest way to find us, right behind Texas Toffee.
Thank you, sir. And we need a grillin' dippin' sweet red devil. Grillin' dippin'. Sauce goddess. There
Here's
she is.
Sauce Goddess. All right, Goddess, tell us about it.
How you doing?
Dominic.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer. I'm the Sauce Goddess from San Diego, California. Hotbed of barbecue, right? That's just what you're thinking. I'm going to go to San Diego and have some good barbecue. All right. So the sauce that I gave them is now a 4-time award winner for us. It is a sweet habanero grilling and dipping sauce. And we used to use it in competition barbecue. My pitmaster's name was Screamin' Pete, and we would make Screamin' Pete's hot legs. And we would take drumsticks and dunk them in that sauce and throw them on the smoker. It is absolutely fantastic. It's going to be sweet with a little back-end heat. It is certified gluten-free. It's all natural with no additives. So there's no xanthan gum. There's no junk in there. It's just food in the jar that tastes fantastic. So I hope you enjoy it. And we are in booth 239. We are actually right between the King of Barbecue and Clam Lube with the jerky people in between us. Try us all out. Come on over.
Thank you, Goddess, very much.
What was your booth one more time? 239, guys.
239.
Okay, we've gone from the King of Barbecue to the Sauce Goddess. Now we're at Dirty Dick's hot sauce. So Dirty Dick, where you at? You around here? There he is, right over here.
All right, here we go, Dirty. Come on.
I need one of my pastors. Where y'all at?
Hi there.
Ace.
My name is Richard Westaver, the manufacturer and creator of Dirty Dick's Hot Sauce. I created the recipe about 25 years ago in the Caribbean, and I've been making it ever since. It's habaneros, bananas, mangoes, pineapple, and raisins. Two-time world champion in New York City. And we sell it all over the country. It's really good with chicken, pound for pound. I'd say it's the best chicken sauce on the market. And come visit us. We're at booth 226. We're from Boston. And we love this area. And thank you for having us. Bye.
Thanks, Dirty. What booth number? 226. Booth 226 for Dirty Dicks. Brent.
We appreciate that. So the last, what we're looking for is when we take the individual to the higher way of awareness and transformation, we're looking for love, joy, peace, and enlightenment. So we look at this as 4 different stages. Unless you're a trail horse, there's 4 different stages that create an orbit. So in the world of business, the idea is that we got to create a new generation of kids who are imaginative, who are constantly coming out of this orbit and creating such greater product and services that they come on up here to the promised land, where they can think on their own behalf. In this, you feel greater than you think. In this dimension, you think greater than you feel. So the idea is we want to set up schools, all organizations, basically to take individuals to a higher level of dimension of thought. And when you're higher level dimension of thought, what happens is you start creating and imagining and setting the stage for a better world to unfold. What's our next sauce, Brent?
Cowboy candy salsa. You over here? Cowboy candy. There he is.
There he is.
Here he goes. Come on, cowboy. Come on up. Tell us about it, cowboy.
Thank you. What I have is a salsa with candied jalapenos. And the flavor that I gave to the chef is a smoked poblano salsa with tomatoes, onions, cilantro, roasted poblano peppers, candied jalapenos. And I think it married well. I did it last year. We married well on
Cowboy
Sunday
candy.
with the smoked pulled pork that he did. And people ate it like it was going out of style. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And thank you very much. I'm at booth 406, right down the aisle here. And so if you guys like it, I hope you guys will stop by and hopefully purchase. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chef.
You got the camera on this brisket?
Thanks,
Cameron?
cowboy.
Can y'all see it on the
Can y'all see it, guys? Yes? No?
Yes, we got
yes.
it.
Okay.
We got it, Brent.
All right, guys. Who here has ever had brisket that 4 hours later you're still tasting it, but you don't really want to be tasting it? It's kind of real smoky and sooty. Well, when you in the whole progressive state, you got to set the environment from the very get-go. Who here has had brisket that as you're eating it, it gets extremely hard to swallow because it's insanely dry? Raise your hand. What do y'all think happened to that? Raise your hand if you think that was overcooked. See, that wasn't overcooked. What happens is brisket is protein strands and connective tissue. Real tight bonds, okay? So if you've ever been to Walmart and you've seen 50 briskets in there and one of them has a little more water, a lot more water than the rest, do you think when they carved that off that steer, they grabbed a cup full of water and dumped it in there and then sealed it up? No, what that is, that's old brisket. So what happens is Mother Nature will control what goes on. She will break down that connective tissue. She will release that water. If I take this brisket raw and I set it on that stage right there, it will break down. It will break down and it'll get pretty nasty looking, but it will break down. Well, that's what's happened. That's why that brisket in that bag has so much moisture in it, because it's breaking down. It's releasing the moisture. So when you eat that brisket, that as you're chewing it, it starts getting real dry, real tough, real hard to swallow. It's absorbing your saliva. Now, I know that sounds disgusting, but it's trying to balance back. That water that was in that package inside that brisket used to be inside that brisket. So what we want is we want to control Mother Nature, not let Mother Nature control us. So what we do, because we buy so many, last week, I don't even know if he knows the number, I know the number, we cooked 590 briskets last week because we had the inauguration. Plus, on average, we cook about 200 briskets a week for our catering jobs and our restaurants. We have a machine that runs 24 hours a day. Every restaurant, all the brisket come off the same smokers, touched by the same hands, because we want consistency at every single location. So every morning, the brisket comes off smoker, sent to locations, we sell out, we go home. But it's very consistent. But why is it consistent? A kitchen is like a laboratory, correct? Think about the idea. You want sterile, you want cold, you want hot, right? Well, imagine that if at Tylenol or Advil, wherever they manufacture these drugs, they just grabbed a handful of that and a handful of this, and we want precision. So we know the exact kill date of the brisket compared to the day it's going to go on the smoker. Y'all follow me so far? Consistency, 15 days or less. Now, if hijack, you want me keep going?
Well, no, you're great. The idea is there's laws that govern how to cook barbecue. There's laws that govern how to run a business. There's laws that govern how to run a hot sauce business and whatever. The key is that you got to put the right energy and information into the system. You got to make sure you got the right heat in whatever you're doing. That's usually the biggest mistake. All of a sudden, people get cold and they don't put the right energy and information to get out of these orbits. If you do not come out of these orbits, the next thing you know, another business opens up and puts you out of business because you're over here acting like a trail horse when you should be acting like a cutting horse. You should be not acting like a basketball that's deflated. You should be acting like a basketball that's got a lot of air in it, a lot of spirit in it. Are y'all seeing this brisket up here? Y'all see it? Can y'all see it on the screen?
Yeah,
okay. To get that brisket, what you got to do is buy that ticket for that barbecue, and we're going to be serving this some pulled pork. We'll be serving this pig. What else we got?
We got our pork loin, we got pulled pork, we got brisket.
We got ribs too, pork ribs. So
chicken.
Now we're getting excited. So any questions about what we're doing in the shelter, in the homeless shelter? The nonprofit we have is called Internal Freedom. The idea is that if you put the right heat in the system, you can take somebody through the tipping point into a better world. So one of the guys that works for us for the last 4 years, he was 10 years in the drug rehab program at the VA hospital. After 10 years, they couldn't help him. They kicked him out of the hospital. So he's now on the streets, and he came to our program at Souls Harbor. A shelter has been operating since 1956. So there I have my program in the system, and all we do is make sure we put the heat on Jeff, taking him out of these cycles and these filters all the way up to a higher level of awareness. So this program that you see on this board takes 10 hours. How do I know it's 10 hours? Because Jeff told me it was 10 hours. He said his urges for crack cocaine and some of the things that he was up to totally went away. He became free of these cravings and these urges. So we took him out of stage 1, got him to stage 2, got him into the storm. We kept putting the heat on the system, heat on Jeff, but I didn't raise the heat or lower the heat. But I could not use shame, guilt, and apathy. That's not the heat we want to use. We want to use words like courage, willingness, neutrality, and love, and joy, and peace to take him through the transformation. The key is I'm always looking for what is that tipping point for the individual to come out of where their urges go away. I have a gentleman that's been working for me from the day one. I was in that first class when I asked that question, when did you perceive your control or power was taken away? He was 30 years on heroin. He had a spontaneous remission where the urge totally went away. He came through the tipping point. So we know exactly how to take an individual through the tipping point. So if you're interested in what we're doing for fun, we don't charge anything for it. Somebody asked today, he came to me needing help with a grandson. He asked me what I charge. I said, how can you charge for something that fundamentally was given to me for free when I found out through the laws of barbecue. So as the laws of barbecue, I don't think anybody else could have come up with this system because there's two things going on at the same time. I was teaching in homeless shelters, and I was cooking barbecue. So I was doing a class on barbecue, and I started seeing these patterns, and I said, well, this is identical patterns that's been taking place for 17 years in the shelter. So I've combined the two, and so now it makes my life a lot easier when I go in because I'm very confident that I know how to cook barbecue, but I'm really more confident that in a very short period of time we can help people that fundamentally other people throw away. So any other questions on that, Scott? You got anybody?
Barbecue questions? Anybody?
Barbecue questions or what are we doing in the shelter?
What time we serve?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock?
We're
Mr.
working
Dean, I'll
through
tell
that
you, I channeled my inner Eddie Dean
Yes, sir.
about 6 months ago. My for real avocation, other than the love of Zest Fest and spicy food, I'm an attorney for the federal government, and my job is as the chief of supervision, investigation, et cetera, in the Northern District of Georgia. And when we were formulating how we handle post-release reentry programs for our offenders, one of the clues, and I channeled you, and I hope that's okay, I said, first, the word offender. We're labeling them because of something they did 2, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And I said, who in here, and again, this is you, I said, who's ever told a lie in your life about anything? And I said, do you want to be called a liar for the rest of your life? No, you're an accountant, you're a judge, you're a chef, you're a sheetrock artist. You're not going to be called a liar. You're so much more than that. Just because they made a mistake 15 years ago, they don't necessarily have to be called an offender because that keeps them in that orbit you were talking about.
Yeah.
And that's worked.
No, it's definitely, the idea is how you see yourself is through a filter. So imagine, Scott, that you're a coffee maker.
Yes, sir.
Let's imagine that, so if your body and brain's a coffee maker, you're the filter. Okay, so imagine the filter being toxic. What is the coffee? What is the consequences of your life going to look like? It's going to be toxic. So the idea, if you see yourself as a filter, the way your program as children is you have a pure filter when you're born, but if you're raised in a rotten apple barrel, we call them, then fundamentally, basically you develop a toxic filter. What is a toxic filter? Shame, guilt, apathy, and grief.
Yes, sir.
So we can take them out of the toxic, we get them to a better place, we call a polluted filter, and then they go into that resistance. What I recognize is I just got to keep the heat on. I got to keep putting energy and information into the system where basically they can move out of this orbit to a higher level of thinking. Higher level of thinking is they have to have curiosity. There is no way that this can happen without having curiosity. That's the key, and curiosity always leads to courage. So if you're asking the right question, you'll get the right answer.
I agree.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Anybody else
Absolutely.
out there got a thought or a question? We got a few minutes before 6 o'clock.
I think they're ready to-
Anybody out there?
I think they're ready to eat, Mr. Dean, to be honest with you.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody coming to our show. In about 15 minutes, we'll be open for a big barbecue.
How about a big hand one more time for the man himself, Eddie Dean, and let's not forget the grandkids, and of course, Brad, that is fantastic smelling food. I just walked by there and got a waft of that.